Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Gonna come at groups, teams, mags, communities from a slightly different angle today. Y'all Vikings have been doing a great job getting together at the meetups. And you will remember, I hope, when I told you that the meetups were not the end all. The meetups were to facilitate y'all forming groups. Now, if a group forms out of everybody that meets up, fine. If 5 groups form out of the meetup, fine. And I've gone over ad nauseum in the past the fact that you have to sleep sometime in a strange situation. And so you're going to need security in the form of other humans you can trust. Excuse me. You're going to need help doing a myriad of things. And therefore, groups, teams, mags, community. And I think at least you understand that. Whether you agree with it or not, you understand it. Now we start diverging a little bit. It is important for your group to be local. I know it's bumming some of you out. Now, local could be right now local. My group is together right now and they all live in the local area. Or it could be our group is going to come together at this location under these conditions and then be together. That's actually harder in some ways. Logistics, housing, food, water, right? But it can work especially well in a family group if everybody agrees they're going to coalesce on grandpa's place, right? Something like that. But I know of groups that have gotten together and bought a piece of land or are renting a piece of land, somehow have obtained a piece of land onto which they put structures. You know, you can picture a campground all the way up to, you know, a compound or whatever. But you have to be local because your group, when things like, oh, I don't know, Florence is blowing roofs off houses and then looters come in behind that, which I don't think they're going to, but I'm just kind of taking a current example and moving with it. And then there's bad things going on. Well, if Bob is 5 miles away at his place watching out for looters, and I'm over here watching my place for looters, and Sheila and Jimmy are 3 miles that way guarding their place for looters, you got to sleep sometime. See my point? So groups have to be local. You have to find people that are local. Now, one thing that a meetup group could do, let's say people get together from a 2-hour radius all around where the meetup was, right? So there's people all in there on the map. The meetup group could form and come up with ideas and patterns and things like that to assist individual members in forming little groups where they are locally, more local. But you got to be proximate to each other. I cannot provide you supporting fire at the bad guys who are, you know, in your front yard if I can't see them from where I'm sitting, standing, laying, you know, whatever, from my house. But that's not where I'm going with this. That was just a freebie, something to think about. Your group's got to be local, and local can either be now, you all live in a local area now, or we have a plan to coalesce somewhere. Okay. I did a video, we're switching now. I did a video a while ago where I think I titled it, "What Do You Bring to the Table?" And it was kind of harsh. And it was like, why should a group accept you? If you haven't seen that video, go to my YouTube channel and in my channel search box, type in, "What do you bring to the table?" and watch it. It was kind of harsh, but it was very true. And I did a series of videos about women in Tiyawaki, old people in Tiyawaki, the sick and the unwell in Tiyawaki. Typically weaker people and things they should expect. The poor in Tiyawaki, I did that too. The time to get in a group, if you are not a 24 to 35-year-old CrossFitting male who shoots combat handgun and pistol and can build a fire with a bottle, the time to get into a survival group is now, so that you can form relationships, and what you bring to the table is you, and people get to see you as an individual, and then they will value you when something happens. But trying to make them value you when they're counting buckets of rice and beans that they have, and then wondering why they're going to feed you over that 25-year-old couple over there, that's the wrong time to form those relationships, right? So the time to do that is now. What do you bring to the table? And kind of related to what do you bring to the table is, what does your group bring to the table? Most of you aren't there. Most of you don't have a group yet. But for those of you that are starting to form one, or that, you know, you're blessed that you have one, what are the strengths of your group? We're a good group. We love each other. We're really cool together, and we're wicked spades players. Okay, what do you bring to the table? Why should the greater group accept your group? Why should they deal with your group at all? Why should anybody care? Ooh. TJ said, I said, and it's because we were having a conversation right here in these two rocking chairs about groups and warlords, and because a warlord is basically the head of a group in a time of violence. If he's not a warlord, that group is not going to be cohesive for very long in a time of violence. And I told him that the reason I think groups are important, here's the other way we're going, is so that, let's just make it personal. The reason I want to be in a strong group, in a respected group, is because I don't want anybody coming here and enacting their will on me, most especially when it's a bad will. Groups are going to form after an event. Some will be good, some will be mediocre, some will be evil. Evil. Doesn't matter what they call themselves or what color of authority they have, it'll be different times. And so let's just say that a group gets together and starts out with all the right intentions, but what ends up is, and I saw a comment to that effect recently here by one of y'all, your county commission, let's say in whatever county you live in, has decided that for the greater good of the county, because they feel responsible to make sure that everybody in the county is taken care of through this disaster that we face, that they're going around and rounding up generators and gasoline. Let's just say that. Because, you know, you could make a case for that, right? And so they roll into your place with, like, you know, 3 former police cars and 15 dudes and trucks that are half full of generators that they're rounding up, and they all pull up into your place, and there's, like, you know, 10 or 12 guys that have been through this all morning long, so they kind of know how this is going to go, and they say, hey, how you doing? We're from the County Relief Society, duly appointed by the county commission, and we're here to gather up the generators so that we can equally distribute them to the people. And you're just a 1 of, or a 2 of, or a 3 of, and you're like, yeah, sorry, I need my generator. I've got a whole bunch of medicine in my refrigerator that I'm trying to keep cold. And they're like, yeah, well, we've heard that before, and it's late, and I'm getting tired of explaining it to you nice. So Zeke, Bubba, get the generator. What are you going to do? You going to get shot and killed over your generator? How about instead, if this little posse comes rolling up into your AO and they're met by a roadblock with people at it who say, hey, how you doing? You want to hold up right there? And a conversation ensues because they're looking around and you know what they're measuring? Strength. You ever see the 13th Warrior? Now they have to measure what they cannot see. And they're like, hey, we're from the county commission. You're like, hey, that's awesome. How things going out there? You do the long conversation with them, and they're like, well, hey, do y'all have any generators? Because we're gathering, you can see all these generators in our truck. And your group says, yeah, well, we're pretty good here. Thanks. We don't need any help, and we're not contributing. But if y'all need something, let us know. We'll see what we can do. See, all of a sudden, the power that be, they made themselves a power that be. It could just as easily be an outlaw motorcycle club. You know, whatever. I'm just picking a group. They start rolling around and they start feeling their oats. And they're like, yeah, we're in charge, man. And they start telling people what to do. I don't want to be told what to do. Not by the likes of you. But you got to have Pizzos, or they're going to tell you what to do. Might makes right. Doesn't make it right, but it makes right. And winners write the history books. Did you know that Afghanistan almost always has been, is now, and will continue to be a society of warlords? Fascinating concept that. These are not ignorant men running around chopping off heads in Afghanistan. They are very much like politicians. And it's tough to be a warlord. Actually, it's a thankless job. John Mosby writes well about warlords. I don't know if he calls them that, but he writes about them. Because the second their tribe, their group, decides that they don't want that guy in charge as their warlord, he's gone. And they'll pick somebody else. And it can be a soft push out or a hard push out. You know, it's kind of up to the group. So the warlords try really hard to keep their elders happy in those situations. But did you know that when we, America, went in there in 2001 and decided we are going to overthrow the Taliban, who were in charge of Afghanistan, sorta, they too had to deal with all the different warlords. We found warlords that had strength that we could use, that we could leverage. We found warlords that had an attitude that we could work with. You know, if they didn't like us, they were at least neutral and susceptible to being swayed. And then we worked with those warlords by, one, giving them duffel bags and pallets of $100 bills. And then, you know, what do you need? Abdul Khan, I need 25 pickup trucks. Okay, we'll get you 15. And I need this many machine guns, and I need this, and I need that. Next thing you know, they're getting that stuff to one degree or another. Now, there were other warlords out there who weren't getting that stuff. The warlords that got that stuff got it because they were assessed as being strong enough to deal with. They were assessed as having something to bring to the table as a group that was worth our effort to deal with. What does your group bring to the table? Why should anybody listen to you? When your leader approaches the county council and says, I represent X number of people, are they going to listen? Or are they going to be like, yeah, you wish you represented 500 people? It's like those people in the militia calling themselves general and colonel, and they really have like 10 guys. How about you start out with staff sergeant? Work your way up as you get more people. But I digress. A benevolent dictator This land is founded on democracy. Democracy is something that happens when civilization allows it to. But when there's chaos out there, people aren't voting on things. You're not on film. I'll make sure she's not on film. She doesn't want to be right now. When times are civilized, we can have democracy and we can discuss things like rational adults. Or republicanism, right? Yeah, I know the difference. But I'm talking about that form of government. But when we don't have that form of government, orders are issued. It's the same thing in this country. You think our federal government is going to be asking Congress what they need to do when emergencies are happening? No, they're going to say, here's what we're doing, guys, by presidential directive, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Obama tried to rule his whole administration that way. So, not only do you need a group so that you can sleep at night, you need a group so that a larger group doesn't come in and make you do what they want you to do. All right, we want all the women to get on this truck and all the men to get on this truck. This doesn't sound like it's going to end well to me. Right? Or we want all the generators, or we want half of your food, or whatever. You don't get a say. We're telling you, we are enacting our will on yours. Have a big enough group that they decide they'll deal with you later. And try to continue to make your group bigger. Now, how do you make your group bigger? People have to want to be part of your group. How do you do that? Leadership, ability, stuff, logistics. Because whatever you go into the event with, let's say you're lucky and you have 10 adults in your group, and you've all decided to move to Bubba's Ranch. And, you know, we're going to put the single guys in the barn. We're going to put the single women in the basement. The nice basement, the finished basement, to protect them by the 3 families that are living upstairs. You know, whatever. We're coming up with a way that we're going to have everybody on this farm working together. Cool. So you've got a group. Decisions have to be made. Things have to get done. And one of the first things you want to do is expand your influence. It's politics. It's realpolitik. You want to go out and draw your circle as big as you can, because the bigger you can draw and hold your circle, the less people that can come in and mess with you. But all those people that aren't in your group right now, that are in your proposed circle, they have a vote, right? They certainly do have a vote. You're going to have to offer them something that they say, this is worth it to me. What does your group bring to the table? Your group, you can make noise, sweetie. Your group, if it's a really good, well-functioning group, should have many subgroups in it. You know, you can't have a group that just specializes in medical unless you want your group to join another group as part of the medical detachment of that larger group. You could do that. But, you know, you should have all the things. I'm writing about it in my novel right now. We're actually just getting started. But something to think about. So it starts out with you as an individual getting yourself squared away so that other people want to hang out with you. Then you have to attract or join others. Again, there has to be perceived worth, perceived value. I don't want to give up every Thursday night if all I'm going to do is sit around and drink coffee or beer and complain about the government. I ain't got time for that. I don't think you have time for that. I don't want to join a group that meets every Saturday. I'm not going to join a group that meets every Saturday unless it's at church. But let's just go with it. That meets every Saturday at the range. And we look at all the new gewgaws that everybody can buy to put on their guns, and that's all we focus on, and then we start talking conspiracies. That's not going to help me. Think about what kind of groups you want to have. I'm going to talk more on this. I'm going to try and give you guys some advice on groups. I have formed a lot of groups. I have joined a lot of groups over the last 30 years. I know a thing or two about them. But right now, I'm just trying to motivate you to get to the point where you have a group of people that can roll in somewhere. You know, we make a point when the Shofarians go somewhere of all rolling in together. If we have to link up somewhere else first, we try to do that. But we try to roll in and make an entrance. Psychological. Makes people want to be part of you. Makes people go, they got something going on. Maybe bad people that are out there think, probably don't want to mess with them. Maybe good people think, I want to be like them. What can I learn from them and apply to my own group, right? Motivation. But we try to make an entrance of a sort without bravado and, hoo-hoo, look at us, yeah, buddy. I mean, you know, we move as a group, we work as a group. But that's because we are a group. We're a real group. We do things together. Last weekend, we moved Brother Roger. This weekend, we're clearing land for another brother to park his camper on. It's what we do because we value each other. We value the tribe. What does your tribe bring to the table? All right. I may see you out there.